Very good afternoon, and thanks for clicking on to the Wednesday edition of Vogan's European Outlook. I hope you're enjoying the content here in the channel. If you are, but haven't subscribed already, be sure to hit that subscribe button. It's absolutely free content, 6 days a week, soon to be 7 days a week, I may add, as the tropical season is looming in the next couple of weeks. Also, the European summer forecast will be released via a live stream Sunday the 25th of May at 4 p.m. So put that into your diaries. And I'm also delighted to say that the live streams will be back this upcoming Sunday, 4 p.m. The Global Weather Report Live edition 140 will be the upcoming weekend. So lots of reason to stick around here in the channel. Absolutely free content, 6 days a week. And things are starting to look rather interesting as well. Now, this is the drought monitor across Europe for April, the end of April last year. And you can see here that Europe was looking reasonably well, apart from southern areas of Europe and southeastern Europe, parts of eastern Iberia, Italy, large swathe of the Balkan region, Turkey, North side of the Black Sea. It was in reasonably drought conditions. But you can see here, central and western areas of Europe, thanks to a wet spring, we did see, obviously, a relatively cool and damp summer last summer as a consequence of a wet spring. We had fairly moist soils as well, and therefore we did see the temperatures somewhat subdued. I know you can't look purely at soil moisture content to dictate what type of the temperature and atmosphere you're going to receive. But nevertheless, this is how things are looking at the end of April this year. A very different story, especially through the central swathe of Europe here. If we'll blow this chart up, hopefully you can see it reasonably well. It doesn't look as if it's wanting to blow up for me. But we have got drought conditions across many areas of mainland UK. It looks as if Ireland has kind of ever so slightly eased off that anomalous dry ground that we have been building throughout the course of this spring. It looks as if we could very easily be talking about the warmest and driest spring on record, if not within the top 5 at the very least anyway. And we've got growing concerns here. If you look at this article from the Joint Research Centre, it's showing that Europe drought over the large parts of Europe is raising concern. And as you can see here, this is the soil moisture anomaly through the month of March, and obviously we've seen a very dry April. We're seeing a very dry start to the month of May, and this is all looking rather concerning. Now, I don't want to build this up, hype it up or anything like that, but certainly this is getting drawn my attention more and more day by day, week by week, as we lead towards the summer forecast. You cannot ignore the dryness of the soils, the fact that we're continuing to see this high pressure dominance. The question mark is going to be, when do we see this break in this weather pattern? Do we start to see a change towards the end of May, beginning of June, to something more unsettled, low pressure dominant, or do we maintain this high pressure dominated theme as we go forward? But certainly, heat and low rainfall depletes soil and water reserves. Drought in Europe is affecting key rivers, including parts of the British Isles. But look at this swathe here of Central Europe here, big population areas. We've obviously got major trade routes between countries within the river network of Central Europe. And obviously we are seeing some river flows relatively low for the time of the year. This is shared by Christian on Twitter, the climate anomalies for Europe during the month of March. Obviously, we've not got the information for April yet, but warmer than average and drier than average central and western areas of Europe. Now, it has to be said, Iberia is looking a lot better than it was this time last year. We've had a lot more in the way of wet weather, so really drought is not really such a concern down across the majority of the Arabian Peninsula, it has to be said. So below average temperatures, above average rainfall for the month of March, down across the vast majority of the Iberian Peninsula. Now, if we look at the ECMWF, this is the rainfall anomalies. This is taking us out to the 19th of May, and firmly drier than average Central Europe, including all of the UK and Ireland. Moving into the period now between the 19th and the 26th of May, still drier than average. Then as we move into the first few days of June, looks as if we've got close to average, maybe marginally below average across the south of the UK. But then the concern is that we're seeing the 2nd through the 9th of June, the 9th through the 16th of June, no real signal for wetter than average conditions here. And that means that leading from a dry back half to winter and pretty much the majority of the spring season, with about 75% now complete, less than half the normal rainfall you would expect through the first 4 and a bit months of the year. It has to be said that we do have to pay some form of attention to this, because this could lead to hot conditions as we move towards summer's opening month. Now, this is off the CANSIPS model. This is interesting to show you in a second. This is the rainfall anomaly for the month of June of CANSIPS. However, there is an interesting look both in the NMME model, which is indicating average to slightly wetter than average conditions, and if you look at the CFSV2 monthlies, we are seeing wetter than average conditions for the UK. So it goes against what the CANSIPS model is indicating in terms of rainfall for the month of June. In terms of the CFSV2 weeklies, let's go back and click. This is the first week. Firmly drier than average. High pressure remains dominant across our part of the world, wetter than average across Iberia, southern portions of Europe, and extending into the Balkan region. Drier than average Greece and Turkey, if you notice here. Then if we go into week 2, again drier than average. Into week 3, we're starting to see something change, possibly lower pressure developing, possibly from the south moving northwards here. So let's have a quick look at the upper heights for that same period. It looks as if we've got the possibility of lower pressure towards the 20th and the 27th of May over the UK and Ireland, according to CFSV2. But if you look at the next couple of weeks anyway, with the drier than average, no surprise, higher pressure is the dominant player. Look at this trough extending from Western Europe down towards the southwest of the continent here, with the strong block to the north. You can see here in the week 2, high pressure remains dominant once again. And then, like I say, in the week 3, we've got lower pressure. But notice here, as we move into the month of June, higher pressure tries to build back in. In terms of the temperature anomalies, I would not be surprised, by the way, if we have a significant hot start to the summer based on everything that has taken place so far. But anyway, this is the upcoming 7 days according to the CFSV2. Warmer than average across the north, slightly cooler than average across the south of the UK. And that cool tongue extends from Western Russia through Central Europe and down into France and Iberia. That is quite a significant cool signal for the upcoming 7-day period. Now, looking into week 2, warmer than average, and then you notice here that the heat builds according to the CFSV2. It actually, those anomalies become quite aggressive in terms of warmer than average as we step into the month of June. But that is a long way out. We're still talking well over, in fact, about 3 weeks away until we reach the month of June. But nevertheless, this is certainly something that we need to pay close attention to. But like I said already, this is how the month of April, last year was looking. So reasonably good conditions in terms of the soil, central and western areas of Europe. This is how it's looking at the end of April this year. Much, much drier conditions that could be leading to higher pressure as a consequence of that dry ground. It's a little bit difficult to say, but yes, do we have a drought summer on the way? Do we have a hot, dry start to the summer. Perhaps we start to see a breakdown as we progress through the season. That's another thing that needs to be worth considered as well. So we're just going to have to continue to watch this space as we go through the next wee while or so. In terms of the temperatures of the ECMWF, now I'm still waiting for the May update to come through, but this is how the 2 minute temperatures are looking off the ECMWF for the month of June. And you can see here that we are looking warm for the month of May. I know it's a little bit difficult to see. Let's have a look at the European view actually. So this is the month of May. You can see here quite a significant warm signal over the UK and Ireland. This is the month of June. So again, indicating firmly warmer than average conditions. You could argue closer to average across the central North Highlands, for example. But generally speaking, we've got that warmer than average signal. In terms of precipitation, let's have a quick look off the ECMWF and see what it is indicating. And we shall see what it's showing. Bear with a second here. Let's have a quick look at. Always helps if you can get to the right chart. Let's look at Europe, and you can see here month of May indicating it's actually showing marginally average to slightly above average in terms of rainfall, which doesn't seem to make a huge amount of sense. Obviously, this is a chart that was is quite out of date now, it must be said. But this is the month of June, and you can see here wetter than average north of the UK. And if we look at the 500 millibars for the same period, just bear with a second. Let me just see what it's indicating in terms of the 500s for the month of June. So let's look at Europe. This is how the month of May is looking, by the way. And you can see that it's showing positive heights Central Europe into the UK and Ireland. This no signal the west of Biscay, west of France and Iberia. That would indicate to me it's seeing that lower pressure south of the British Isles, and that's something that we need to watch as we go into the middle and second half of the month here. Very dry signal across much of the UK over the next 10 to 14 days. We may start to introduce something wetter from the south as we move into week 2 and 3 of May. But that's the month of June. May. This is the month of June, and it's indicating we've got strong higher pressure to the south. We could have a slightly cooler, wetter northwest, warmer, drier south. That would be a fairly classic UK June theme if this was to materialise. But there certainly is a lot going on. We're continuing to see the soils dry out. We're seeing the high pressure remain dominant. We're seeing a lack of rainfall over the next couple of weeks here. What takes place as we move towards the latter half of May into the early portions of June remains to be seen, but I will certainly try to keep up to date as best I can here on the channel. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. Like, share, and subscribe. Leave a comment, and I'll see you all being well tomorrow with more. Bye for now.